Yesterday, I completed the 100,000 step challenge and it absolutely broke me. And when I say broke me, it broke me physically, it broke me mentally, and it broke my spirit. You see, what happens on the 100,000 step challenge is you get to about 75,000, which is when a lot of people quit. And then it's like you go into this world where you've started this new job. You look down at the clock thinking that you're near your end of your shift and 2 minutes have passed. And so every single step, every 100 step, every 1,000 steps turn into what feels like 10,000 or 20,000 steps. And then when you get to the end of the 100,000 step challenge, when you've got 20,000 steps left to go, you just cannot comprehend how physically your body is going to be able to get you through. Now, bear in mind here, I'm a relatively fit guy. I've run marathons before in the past. I regularly run. I've done half marathons. I go to the gym. Walking 20,000 steps for me would just not be an issue. I wouldn't even feel it the next day. Yet getting to 100,000 steps for some reason just seemed absolutely unsurmountable. So here's how the day went. I started off at 3 o'clock in the morning. Off I went. Originally, I was going to get up at 5, but I changed that to 3 o'clock because I figured that it was going to take me about 21 hours. In the end, it actually took 19 hours. So I set off at 3 o'clock, and the first bit of the morning is actually the best part of the day. Like, you're walking, it's dark, nobody's around, you're seeing owls flying around, you're looking at frogs on the ground that you've never seen before. There's no cars, very, very few, particularly on off-beaten tracks. And you get to the first 30,000, bang, and you're just thinking, yeah, this is happy days. But I know, and I said this, I'm long enough in the tooth to know that these challenges only really come difficult at the very latter parts. It's like a marathon. Like in the 21st mile, up to that point, I was thinking, this is absolutely fine, no problems. You hit mile 22, what happens? Cramping both legs and you can't really finish. So moving on from the first 35,000 miles, you then start to link in. And what starts to happen at that stage is your legs start to get a little bit sore, a little bit stiff. Wherever you're putting more pressure on, and that might be a point in your foot, it might be a point in your hip, your quad, your hamstring, that starts to tighten up. Then your hips start to tighten up. Now, for me, I went off-road and I went on-road. And on-road, some people say to me that puts more pressure on your hips and joints. But what I found with the off-road stuff is you're walking on steps and stones, and that put more pressure on your calves, and you were trying to balance out your whole body. And so it actually put more pressure on, and I didn't have the best footwear, which is another key point. And so by the time I'd got to about 55,000 miles, it was getting tough. At this point, I knew I was doing something tough, but I knew that I had another 15,000 steps, in me, no problem. And at this point is where I actually roped in some of my friends. So my friend came to meet me, and to some extent, the walking round track and the distraction, the reservoir was a bit of a distraction. It helped me get through a few miles, and then my family joined me. And then what happened was I did a massive walk back. And at this stage, I'm coming up to like 75,000 steps. And the last mile of that 75,000 step part, I was doing in like 20 minutes. Like, your body just shuts down. And so you've got to really balance the food that you're taking in with the energy that you're expending. So I ended up getting 2 sticks, one of which my son had given me, and I was like carrying myself along. Anyway, 75,000 steps, got some food, got some dinner, and then started to recover. I had half an hour, and then I was like back out again. So that brings me to the last 25,000 steps, which you might think, well, you've done 75,000, 25 doesn't seem that bad, but this last 25 feels worse than the whole 75 put together you've done throughout the whole of this challenge. And so I walked up quite a steep embankment, and I roped somebody in who helped get me through that last 15,000 steps that took me to about 90,000. Now, at 90,000 steps, psychologically you're broken. The steps that you're walking before that mean that you're stopping, you're starting, like you're trying to shake this pain in your leg. Your body is just beaten up. And I had a bag on throughout the day, and I had neck pains from that. I actually discarded that towards the end of the day and just started to walk with a GoPro in my hand. So that last bit, you just cannot fathom how you're going to get through this last 10,000 steps. So what I ended up doing, because it was raining and it started raining really heavy, was doing laps and looping around and round in my parents' garage. But in the end, with about 5,000 steps to go, I realized that the best way to just do this was to break down your mind, psychologically tackle this, knowing that you can do it and your body can push itself much further than your brain thinks it can. And I sucked it up and I walked, and it was so difficult. I was in pieces by the end of it. I couldn't really walk. Now, here's the interesting kicker. The next morning I woke up and I had a decent night's sleep. actually, and I'd lost about 1 kilogram in weight, which wasn't much, but I was eating a lot the previous day. What actually happened was I wasn't as sore as I thought, which is incredible. My body was just beaten up. 19 hours of walking, 100,000 steps, about 50 miles. Your body feels it. Now, don't get me wrong. I am sore. I am a little bit beaten up, but I'm not like when I did the marathon. When I did the marathon, I finished the next day. I couldn't walk. I can walk now. I've got some sores on my feet, but it's not too bad. So look, if you're thinking of doing this challenge, don't underestimate it. And if you are going to do it, good luck. I hope you smash it. And remember, 90% mindset, 10% ability.